the man pressed his ear against the ground, just to listen to the heartbeat, to determine whether the opponent was playing dead or not. However, Dio intended to chop Jotaro's head clean off. Seeing this scene, Jotaro hurriedly controlled Star Platinum to give himself CPR, and meanwhile, Dio standing aside was completely clueless about this, taking the street signpost in his hand and swinging it right down at Jotaro. But as a result, in the very next second, the unexpected suddenly happened, as Star Platinum actually appeared right in front of him. After realizing he had been tricked by Jotaro, Dio immediately tried to summon his stand, but at such a point-blank range, Dio didn't even have time to activate his time stop, before getting his head blown wide open by a direct punch from Star Platinum. Looking at Dio, who was sent flying by him, Jotaro knew perfectly well at this moment that this guy Dio was a monster who had lived at the bottom of the ocean for 100 years, and it was absolutely impossible for him to be beaten to death just like that. As the smoke cleared, Dio was indeed not dead yet, but because his head had sustained massive trauma, his body had now completely lost its balance, to the point that he couldn't even stand up. Before Dio could even react, a bucket of gasoline was splashed right over him, and the one who arrived was none other than Jotaro. He watched Jotaro pull out a lighter, wanting to cremate Dio right then and there, but unexpectedly, Dio suddenly burst into wild laughter, and then activated his time stop. It turned out that earlier, he had already heard the sound of a car nearby, which was exactly why he activated time stop the exact instant the car drove by. As long as Dio could grab onto the car within the 5 seconds of stop time, then he would be able to escape along with the car the instant the time stop ended. Seeing Dio getting further and further away, Jotaro calmly pulled the knives out of his own body, and then controlled Star Platinum to throw them out, knocking Dio right off the car. Left with no other choice, Dio had to find another way out. He knew he absolutely had to run, otherwise his current self couldn't possibly be a match for Jotaro. However, the exact moment he opened the manhole cover, a shocking scene unfolded. Jotaro was actually hiding down there without him even noticing. Seeing this, Dio still tried to launch a counterattack, but as a result, Star Platinum beat him to the punch. Along with the landing of Jotaro's final punch, Dio's body went flying in an instant. However, even though Dio had already been beaten to a pulp at this point, he kept laughing like a total maniac, because this was his planned escape route all along. Looking at the surrounding environment, Jotaro instantly realized what was going on, but it was already too late. Dio had already finished draining Grandpa's blood,